What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing really well. I want to talk about Totemic today. We're going to jump in and do a dungeon really quickly with our Totemic Enhancement Shaman. I did a video talking about sort of Totemic, looking over all the different hero talents, and not a lot has changed with this tree, but I want to really showcase a build that I think works with Totemic in a real Mythic Plus environment on the beta. Okay, so I just created a key on stream last night, and we had a lot of fun with it. Got some viewers from stream. If you haven't seen my stream, it's twitch.tv/ZukoVibes. Come visit us. We're having a lot of fun over there. This build, I think, works to help focus on what is a new build archetype that Blizzard is trying to introduce to Enhancement Shaman. So this is just a complete, guess. I'm just, thinking this might be the case, and there might very well be big changes on the horizon for Enhancement Shaman in general. I'm hoping this week or next week, like they did with Hunters, Blizzard is going to do some big changes for Shaman, because we need them. So take this all with a grain of salt, but this is just an idea, okay? This totem does physical damage, okay? Surging Totem does physical damage, okay? It also gets buffed even further by pressing Storm Strike. So I put the totem down, I press Storm Strike, it fires this little bolt at the totem and increases the totem's damage. And then that bolt actually goes and hits an enemy, which is pretty cool. This also buffs more physical damage with Windfury weapon, having an increased chance to trigger and increasing its damage. On top of that, Sundering creates a massive tremor explosion when you press it. So you hit Sundering and then your Surging Totem also explodes for a double damage tremor, which is really good. This is all physical damage. You can buff all your damage when Surging Totem is active, and then you can further buff Surging Totem's damage right here. This is a physical build layout. So you have things like Storm Strike getting additional hits in with Storm Flurry, and then you've got physical wolves by not taking elemental spirits. You don't have to take Alpha Wolf. You could just have regular feral spirits and they would be physical. If you take Alpha Wolf, you just get the additional damage that they deal. And then you have Legacy of the Frost Witch, which is a physical amp, 25% more fizz damage. So when your wolves are up, you have 30% extra fizz from them, 15% each, and then you have 25% more from Legacy. That's 55% more fizz damage. And guess what does physical damage in this build? Yes, Surging Totem that I mentioned, your Doom Winds Windfury weapon, but also Fire Nova does Flame Strike damage, which the strike part of that means it can scale off of physical buffs, and Sundering does Storm Strike damage. Or not Storm Strike, sorry, Flame Strike damage. They both do Flame Strike damage. So they could go up with either fire or physical, but we can buff them with physical is my point. So this is a build that I've kind of cooked up, and I want to suggest that if this Totemic tree does not change, then Blizzard wants us to do a build like this. It just makes sense to me. You're not doing you're not going all the way and getting an Elementalist style build with Primordial Wave and Hot Hands, and you're not doing a Storm build by running down and getting Deeply Rooted. The Storm build is for Stormbringer. So I tried to cook up this new build, and this is kind of what it looks like in the dungeon. Remember, in the dungeon, we are scaled, okay? We are scaled to 580 item level. There's a little web icon up here. That means we're scaled. So it doesn't really matter what gear I'm wearing. I have a couple of trinkets, but I don't think they have any massive special procs or anything. So all the damage that you're seeing from me here is my damage, which is, I was trying to be honest about that. So we get our wolves out first. Again, 30% more fizz damage. I actually have wolves up already from before the pull. So we have a small window where we have more than that physical amp. And then what you want to do is you want to build up 10 Maelstrom weapon stacks, right? Legacy of the Frost Witch demands that you spend 10 Maelstrom weapon stacks. You can either spend 5 and then 5, or you can spend 10 all at once. It's up to you. I choose to get all of them going at once with one, and I have my Legacy buff, I have my wolves up, I put my totem down and I hit Sundering, and boom, my damage goes up to 1.3 million on about 5 targets, right? Maybe 5-6 targets. So this is the kind of burst that you can get out of the totem if you kind of just set it up properly. It takes a little bit of setup where, again, you get your wolves down, make sure you have that Legacy buff because you've spent 10 Maelstrom weapon stacks, and you're good to go. You're really good to go. It just does a lot of damage. And then on top of that, once you're done that opening burst, your totem's going to keep pulsing damage every like 4 seconds or so. You can keep pressing Storm Strike, and that Storm Strike, again, is going to keep buffing the damage of the totem. So the next time the totem does one of its tremors, it'll actually be 10%, 15, 20% more damage than it was before. And as long as you're maintaining the major buffs with your wolves and your legacy, you can also buff it further with Storm Strike. You kind of get that, both of them going on at the same time. So this can really make your Surging Totem do a tremendous amount of damage. And that's what this whole build does. This whole build focuses on physical damage, which will buff the damage of that totem. That is the biggest thing that you're actually doing, which is really cool. And I think like this is a new archetype in my mind. It's not the Storm build where you're trying to proc Deeply Rooted. It's not the Elementalist build where you're getting tons of Frost Shock damage from your Hailstorm and then you're getting these Hot Hand procs. Like it's not that. It's something new, and I think it's kind of interesting. So there you go. There's an example of what it kind of looks like, right? Surging Totem almost doing 20% of our damage. Chain Lightning is still big. Our wolves are doing way more damage because they're doing physical damage themselves, and their little alpha wolf like splash damage that they do is also pretty high. And then Windfury and then Fire Nova Sundering. You can see how high these things are. Storm Strike is still not doing a ton of damage, but by the end of the key, you'll see it actually does fairly well on its own. Let's get towards the boss fight here. We'll do one more AoE pack here, but it's just cool. Like every pack, you're going to have the totem and you're going to have your wolves and you're going to have Sundering. So you always have this like guaranteed proc of damage. Like you're always going to have that always, which I think that's just amazing. That feels really good. Every single pack in Mythic Plus to have a big combo like that you can execute. I think that's great. So yeah. You do need to take cooldown reduction on the class tree. You need to take the 6-second cooldown reduction to take the Surging Totem from a 30-second cooldown down to 24. So that's the only real important thing you have to do on the class side. Otherwise, the rest of this is coming from your spec side. This is like 2-target cleave here. It's not bad. Like 500k on 2-target cleave. I'm telling you, that's pretty good from what I've been seeing. Again, numbers are going to change. This is the beta, you know, all those disclaimers. I know numbers are going to change, but whenever I'm giving you guys numbers, I'm doing it in the context of like, hey, this is what I've seen on average in the beta right now. This is what like the majority of classes seem to be doing right now on the beta. It's like, and I'm going to try and tell you, like, is the class I'm showing you above that line or below that line? And right now, I think Totemic is like right on the line, if not a tiny bit above it. It's good. In most of these different situations, it's doing good damage, and it really surprised me with this build that I threw together. Let's get to the boss fight. I'm explaining it to Twitch chat here. My build. We had to summon somebody, yada yada. This boss fight, of course, you get a damage amp when you start fighting Ingra, when the other tree is like making him take double damage. So, but right now, before we even get to that phase, we're kind of doing some 2-target cleave here. Ingra takes way less damage than normal. So it's basically a single target fight. And we're doing, you know, 560k right now, which I just thought was fantastic. And oh, there's some lag there, at least on my end. So again, I think the damage is really good. Now we're going to start doing double damage right now. So our damage is going to spike rapidly here. And I happen to get my totem up at the right time. My totem came back, and I'm also going to get a Sundering in here. Watch my damage. My damage goes 560. I'm going to press Sundering here. 580 goes to 640, 670 from one Sundering. So the Sundering, of course, makes the totem do a big tremor, as I said before. That's what's doing all that damage. So this is really good damage. Again, it's inflated because we're doing double damage right now. But by the end of this fight, it was just really good, guys. Like, there, Surging Totem on that boss fight did 22%. Storm Strike did a lot of damage on single target. Windfury, Spirit Wolf. I mean, that's just, it's really cool to see that. Yeah, the only bonus I have, I think, is this Phantom Reaping. That's a trinket, I think. So everything else is like, is my damage. So just to show you that. Now we're getting to the maze part of the fight of the dungeon here. And again, 2-target cleave, not a problem for us. Really, really good. And then somebody messed up the maze already. Working our way through. All these AoE packs are just, they're just good. Like 4-target cleave, 5-target cleave. This is going to be one of those dungeons, I think, where your damage as an enhancement shaman will be really good, and you won't be outshined by other classes because you are lacking a little bit of uncapped AoE. Generally speaking, we only get 6 targets with our flame shocks, for example. However, I will say, moving into the War Within, Blizzard is giving us an enormous amount of uncapped AoE, especially with this totemic tree. So if you do the totemic, the tremors from this are uncapped AoE. Sundering is uncapped AoE. Your crash lightning is actually uncapped AoE. It's just in a very small area. Once you do crash lightning, your storm strike and your lava lash also do a little uncapped AoE splash. Fire Nova is kind of uncapped AoE if you really want to think about it that way, because it's not entirely, but you know what I'm saying? If you have 6 flame shocks and you press Fire Nova, it hits each person 6 times. That's 36 individual hits of Fire Nova. It does a lot of damage, okay? So I'm just saying, you know, with Totemic and the addition of this totem, given that this totem is doing a lot of our damage and it's uncapped, that's really cool, right? That's encouraging, I think. But even if you weren't running Totemic, if you were doing the Storm build, or even if you were just frustrated about Enhancement Shaman being like, oh, we're you know, this dungeon in particular requires you to kill very small packs at a time in this section, which is really nice. So here's pure single target. This is the Pool of Radiance Dragon. We're doing about 320k by the end here. Yeah, we're 315, 320. Very nice. Like, pretty good damage. One more AoE pack here. We're the boss, Wolves. And then I do Cap Totem, I think. Yep. And then I'm building up to get my Legacy proc. I get my Legacy proc right now. I've got it. Then I do Totem, then Sundering. Watch our damage. Our damage is low right now, but we have to set it up, right? So then watch this. Boom, here goes Sundering. Boom, we're up to 500k, and we're kind of off to the races. And we're behind the tank, of course, right now. We're going to get a buff in a minute, but it does take a second to just get things going. I'm going to get knocked away here. It takes a second to get things going, but once you get there, it's really good. And then this build is just going to scale like really well with stats. Like, the more haste you have, the more chances you have to press like Storm Strike, for example. You're going to keep buffing this totem. Every time you press Storm Strike, it buffs the totem over and over and over again. That's crazy. That's going to be absolutely crazy for our damage later on. Here's a combo once again, 880k with our Sundering. We got to get out of the bucking, which is very, very annoying. But we do our best. I get rooted, actually, so I'm losing damage once again. This is a pretty annoying fight for a second. I don't kick Nourish. Just doing chain lightning, then I break out of the root, and then we get a big Fire Nova here. Boom, we go from 680k DPS to 740k DPS. Like, that's... I think the addition of the Fire Nova is pretty critical here for AoE packs. It does a lot of damage. Wolves... Totem is back again. We're going to press it, and then we're going to get a big Sundering here. Here we go. Boom. Back up to 800k almost. It just looks good. Like, it feels really good. 840k by the end there. I think the fact that the totem has such a low cooldown feels really strong to me, and it just makes it all better. Now, this boss fight was lagging like hell. It made everything lag really badly. So I am probably going to skip most of this boss fight, because depending where my camera was angled, I'm lagging out. Like, as soon as I start looking over this misty cliff, I just like literally lag to hell. So we'll do our best here. I'm not going to show you too much of this, but I do want to show you that the single target damage is pretty good once again. It's looking good, guys. It's looking good. This is with Bloodlust, so it's a little bit inflated there. Look at the lag. This is just terrible. I'm going to get hit by an orb. Trying to figure out which thing to go to. It's the one with the circle around it. There we go. We'll get to the very end of the fight, and I'll show you my damage at the very end, because that's pretty important. I think I got... Oh, yeah, we picked the wrong clone there. Everybody dies. We got to do it again. Never mind. Yeah, we picked the wrong clone. We'll skip ahead here. Yada, yada. Near the end of the fight, and our damages... We're lagging out. Our damage is about 310k or so. Not bad. Not bad. It could be a little better, I'm sure, but it's good. I think it's still good. Now, last section of the dungeon here. It's these ooze guys, these like worm-looking things. They have the different abilities that you need to kick. Stimulate resistance. You have to kick that, and then there's a heal that this guy does in a second. It's like a regeneration. You have to kick that as well. So very important to have kicks on this dungeon. Acid Nova is just doing crazy damage right now. Like, watch the health of the mage. I think he dies here. But yeah, he was at half anyway. But Acid Nova was hitting really hard. Now this is fortified, but like, I think it's overtuned a little bit. It just seems to be a little crazy. But yeah, here's our damage to target cleave. Got my wolves back. Summon those again. Totem will be up. I don't know if I want to use my totem. I think what I've learned about the totem is you should just send it. You should just send it no matter what. This is like at the very end of a pack, so it might be a little bit silly. Like, But I had a couple of seconds there where I thought I could send it, so I did. By the time I get to this next pack, my totem is 9 seconds away. So it's like, you might as well just send it, basically, is the point there. Do I spread my... There we go. Big Fire Nova. Watch this Fire Nova here. Boom. 200k DPS. Not a problem. I'd already kicked somebody before, so I couldn't get the resistance, unfortunately. My cat's yelping. Yeah, there we go. We're doing 1 million damage on this pack. Again, I think like this just scales with AoE damage. Like the more mobs you're gonna pull into a pack. If I was doing this on like a Priory of the Sacred Flame, that dungeon, there's really big packs of AoE mobs in that one. I bet you we would be able to get over like 1.5 to 2 million on like every pack, basically, because it's just honestly that much damage. Every pack you're gonna have this damage. It's a very consistent hero talent tree. Very, very consistent. That's what I was finding. You have the totem up for every single one. I did die a couple times here just because it was kind of rough, but I really just enjoy, yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. Here's the last big pack. Totem is down. I get my legacy proc, and then we do a big sundering. Boom. And we're up to 900k, just like that. Boom, baby. Now I'm dying. I think I might end up dying here in a second, but we're over 1 million damage per second, and I died because I was really pumping there. That's really sad. I would have been pumping some big damage, so unfortunate, but that's okay. We do the boss fight here. This is Tred'ova. A couple of annoying things here, of course, that she tries to mind control somebody, and then she does her big consumption. There's 2 important kicks here. You have to kick the mind control, and then you also have to kick her when she goes into her consumption thing in the middle of the screen. She'll start raining like white projectiles all over the ground. You have to break her consumption shield, of course, but then you also need to, once you break the consumption shield, you have to kick whatever she's casting, which is this consumption. You can see it right there. It's about to get kicked, I think, by somebody. So there we go. But you need to be kicking, have one person assigned essentially for the parasitic move right here, parasitic incapacitation. You have to have somebody assigned to that, and then also somebody assigned to consumption, or else you might have somebody kick one when they're not supposed to, and then like you're gonna miss. Somebody will get mind control. It'll be lights out. Our damage is okay here. We're behind everybody else, but we're catching up. We gotta be, you know, once you get your totem back, I'm gonna get my totem back here again. Here it comes totem number 3 probably on this fight. There, the totem's down. And then there's parasitic domination. Unfortunately, it actually got off because I kicked the other. Now I have to kill the guy who gets mind controlled. He's got a shield on him, so I have to actually blow up his shield. I'm able to do that. We're good to go. I get him out of it pretty quickly, but then we're mind linked together, which is not good. There we go. We break it finally, and then we're back to doing damage. So bit of a hiccup there, but that's okay. I think we settle almost around what 390k for Tred'ova. Could have been a bit better, but we just had some, you know, in real world situations, it's never going to look like what it looks like on a target dummy or something, right? So there we go. And then we have the final pack that we forgot to get. We actually have 40 seconds left in this dungeon. It doesn't matter, right? Of course. But I think we end up timing this, actually. Here comes Doomwinds plus Sundering. We're going to do Totem first into Sundering. Watch this damage. Boom. Right up to 600k. We were doing like 3. It's almost like a Primordial Wave feeling, right? Where you're like, oh, you're not doing much. And then it's just like, boom, 6 lightning bolts. Boom, you're off to the races, right? Like that kind of thing. It's a very similar feeling, which is cool. Then, yeah, we've got 15 seconds left to kill these guys. And it doesn't look like we're going to time it. It gets very, very, very close down to the wire. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then he dies, and somehow we get the keystone upgrade. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where you get a bit of a grace period there. Pretty funny. I think Totemic is fine, guys. So, yeah, let's look at the numbers of Totemic. I think I have it in the game, actually. Yeah. Look at this. I don't know why this video is orange. Why is everything orange? And then I need to mess with my settings. I apologize for that. Anyway, this is what it looks like, okay? Surging Totem, 19% of our damage. Windfury weapon. Windfury attack, 13.3. Spirit Wolf, this is mostly Alpha Wolf, but also their melees. It's all physical, right? Physical, physical, physical. Chain Lightning, Storm Strike, physical. Crash Lightning, and then Sundering, Fire Nova are physical. So let's like add it up, right? We have 13 plus 11, that's 24. And then 34, let's call it 42. 42% of our damage here is physical already. Storm Strike's going to add 8.6, so call it 51%. And then this together is another 10. 62% of our damage is physical, and it works. And it ended up with doing 511 K overall, with Surging Totem being in the front there. So it's just really cool. Like, it's really, really cool to me how much damage this was able to do, and just how much, like, how easily it felt to play. Like, it just felt great. You also do get a defensive barrier with Wind Barrier. It didn't end up contributing that much. Like, it's not nothing. It did almost 10 million healing. It's 9.5 million healing almost over the course of the dungeon, but so it's really not nothing. It's a cool little bonus, but maybe not the best thing we were looking for as an enhancement shaman, but it's not nothing. So let me know what you guys think about this build. I really enjoyed this, and I think that I want you guys to let me know if you think that this might end up being a new archetype for enhancement shaman. Instead of potentially doing an elementalist build with Totemic, which would make you proc your lively totems and your reactivity a lot more, instead of proccing these two a lot more, I've been proccing this all the time and taking advantage of this with the Windfury weapon. Like, that's what we're doing, right? But you could do a build, I think, where you do an elementalist style with Primordial Wave, and then you capitalize more on this side of the Totemic tree. So let me know what you think, if Totemic can sort of be the jack of all trades tree, or if you think it's bad and they need to, like, really just focus on the elementalist style and just leave it there. I would love to hear what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Either way, this might also be a brand new build archetype in the works. Who knows? Maybe this is something we could run in the war with him. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.